Tested by dummies, driven by the intelligent. Well, that was the advert for the Volvo 340. Here today we have its big brother, the Volvo 360. So I'm going to tell you if it's much better or not. Right, so you guys will probably be wondering, what is the difference between a Volvo 340 and a Volvo 360? Because they do look really, really similar, and there's not a massive amount of differences. Basically, a 360 is just a spec'd up 340 with bigger engines and better equipment inside. This one here is a 1983, so it's really, really early on a Y plate, 96,000 miles on the clock, and it's a GLS. Right, so let's take a wee look round the outside of this 360. Well, again, it is very, very similar to a 340. I probably couldn't tell you what the exact difference is externally to a 340, but let's take a look at this one anyway. So we've got black paintwork, could do with a good detail and a polish, this one. Original 13-inch alloy wheels. You've got these wee chrome inserts in here. You've got these wee strips round the wheel arches, and the same running along the doors, and a similar little vent there behind the back doors. So I mean, I happen to think these are still pretty cool styling wise. Boxy, utilitarian design, you know, they're very robust. I mean, look at this one, 1983, and it's still on the road. So let's take a look round the front. So distinctive Volvo grille. It's got its GLS badge in the middle there and some unknown badge there. It says Essex on it. Don't know what that is. These big chrome inserts in the bumpers here. And then you've got the typical headlamp wash wipe system fit to this one. So that's pretty cool. And again, you've got this little like silver strip again round the windscreen. So I think that's probably what they've done in GLSs. And let's take a look round the rear. So what's funny about this one, it doesn't have a rear wash wipe despite being a GLS, which is meant to be a spec'd up model. So that's kind of odd. Again, you've got these big robust bumpers, chrome on the top of this one, and the exhaust pointing out to the side, which was a bit of a Volvo thing back in the day. But yeah, it's still got its original lettering and stuff on there, a little chrome release there for the boot. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And it was originally a Volvo Owners Club member that had this car. And before I forget, this little red strip here in case anybody came up behind us and didn't notice it. Right, so what have we got under the bonnet of this one? 2 litre, it's a B19A this one. I think these were 92 brake horsepower. Fitted with a single Solex carburetor, don't know if that's original or not, 5-speed gearbox, and yeah, so you can tell, yeah, it does take up a good bit more space than certainly that 1.7 that was in the 340, and there's no spare wheel sitting over there because I guess there isn't a room for it because the airbox is in the way, but tons and tons of space, you know, to work on this thing. So this one, by the looks of it, does look reasonably solid. You've got this big hose feeding hot air there into the air filter. Yeah, so it's interesting looking at the differences between the two models. But yeah, I mean, this is great. Plenty of space to work on. Nothing too complex, which is what we want these days. Right, we'll do our standard 0 to 60. See how we get on. Pulls away nice and smooth. I don't think they like to rev these. I think they're all about torque. There we go, 60. We'll look back at the footage and see how quick that was. Right, let's take a look at the interior of this one. So being a 360, it's a bit more plush. And so one thing, these seats are super comfy. Look at the colour of this velour cloth, proper cool. Bearing in mind, this is a 1983 car, and this is what they fitted back in the day, but I really love it, you know. Seating position, yeah, very comfy. Big steering wheel there, Volvo GLS written on it. Horns at either side. So that's pretty cool. 5-speed gearbox, lift into reverse. This one doesn't have electric windows, windy windows, which I think was what was standard obviously in the GLS. I think you have to go up to the GLT to get electric windows. We've got a manual windy sunroof up there as well. And this looks to be the original Volvo stereo cassette radio player. How cool is that? So yeah, with the little tuner in the middle. So really like that. So it looks like more than a standard single DIN, that one. So that's quite interesting. You've got this wee quartz clock down there and your cigarette lighter. Choke control is in there. Basically, that is about it in terms of kit-wise for this one. But yeah, I quite like this. It's quite a nice place to be. Now let's check out this dashboard. Let's get that ignition on there. And you've got the wee flashing light for your seat belt, which all these Volvos of this age did. Also says it's flashing for fuel, but I know it's got half a tank, so that's obviously just a wee bit slow to waken up there. So these earlier ones, there wasn't a red line as such. You get this little white line that sort of like increases a little bit as you get closer to the red line. I mean, I'm assuming it's probably around the 6,000 mark on this. 96,000 miles shown there, and the speed goes up to 120. And you've only got your engine temperature and your petrol. I think some other models had optional gauges up there as well. So that's pretty cool. So another thing I've just noticed here is lumbar adjustments on the front seats. So that's pretty handy if you were going to be spending a lot of time in one of these. Right, so let's take this 360 for a drive and see if there's much difference between this and the 340. First impressions. Well, it's a Volvo, so I love it. Anybody that subscribes to the channel knows how much I love old Volvos. I do have to say though, I don't think there's a massive amount of difference between a carb-fed 360 and a 1.7 340. I mean, I guess in all reality there probably was only about 10-12 horsepower difference when they were new, and I'm not feeling a massive difference at the moment driving it. So that's interesting, but this one is a lot older than the 340 that I drove, which was about 2 months ago now, so my memory might be a little bit hazy. So I didn't have high expectations for handling and ride comfort, but actually it's not too bad. It's soaking up all these bumps in the road really, really well. These obviously do wallow about. They're not set up for a firm, sporty ride. They're actually great for a road like this where there's lots of lumps and bumps in it. The 360 is more a motorway cruiser than a 0 to 60 sprinter. But it's really comfortable. It's a really comfy ride on a road like this. Nice and relaxing. Steering's nice and low geared, and it just plods along. Just use that torque to get from A to B. Second gear pull. Yeah, it's alright, you know, it's not slow, it's not fast. There's 60 there. So yeah, I think it's probably what I expected for 92 brake horsepower. So I guess just in reality there isn't a massive amount between them. Brakes on this one bite right at the top, so that's good. You don't have a dead phase where the pedal isn't doing anything. So it's interesting, second gear, if you floor it, you know, it does pick up really well, but I just don't think it's quite as responsive as that 1.7 that I drove a few months back. Right, we'll do our last wee pull. Got the hill behind us, so that'll help us. What do you think, guys? Thumbs up or thumbs down for the 360 performance-wise? The gearbox does feel pretty similar to the 340. So you've got that long throw, it is a little bit woolly, which you would expect. Right, so what do we think then? 340 1.7 or a 360 GLS? Well, I had really high hopes for the GLS, but to be fair, I don't think I would buy a 360 GLS over a 1.7 340. So there's obviously a cost implication between the two. From what I can see, these carb-fed ones are selling anywhere between maybe 3 and 5 grand. Obviously 5 would be a mint one. They're very, very rare, very hard come by. They're a lot rarer than the 340s. Unless you were specifically looking for a 360 GLS, I think a 340 1.7, you could probably get a better condition one for the same amount of money, would be equally as good a choice. So this car itself, pretty decent car, 96,000 miles, so not a massive mileage for one of these. It's very rare being an 83 on a Y plate. To be fair to it, it's been around a long time, taken out in that drive there, no issues, no knocks or clunks as such with it. So yeah, it's a pretty decent example in my opinion, and it's given me a good feel for what the GLSs are actually like. In terms of dislikes, handling, rolls, wallows. So fine if you're going slowly, but if you did want to press on a bit, this is not the car for you, I would say. Another thing I'll probably put as a dislikes, I think for a 2-litre 8-valve carb of the early 80s, it doesn't feel as torquey as I would have expected. Maybe that's just what they're like. So yeah, I want to hear from all you Volvo 360 GLS owners. Put in the comments, have you owned one? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? And what did you buy after it to replace it? So this car was kindly supplied by Scott at RetroShite. I'm going to put a link in the description so you can find out how you can win this car in his competitions. So stick some tickets on and hopefully be lucky and bag yourself a very early and a very rare 360 GLS.